we're going to talk a little bit about deeper truths. There are words that we sometimes don't like to associate with our Holy Scriptures because of what meaning we may ascribe to it. But nevertheless, it's very important for us to look at certain words when referring to the Bible based on a definition that is greater than how we may perceive it as an individual. So the first thing we need to talk about is in ancient literature, in ancient scripture, they looked at what they wrote in deeper truths, as deeper truths, where what we consider to be truth in our culture and context today does not universally fit what other cultures today and other philosophies would understand truths. Oftentimes when we say what is true, we think of this kind of idea of giving directions to a destination. How do we get from A to B? Literally like a GPS direction. As a good New Englander, we know that sometimes we will say, take a right where Almax used to be. Almax used to be maybe a past truth, but the location, nevertheless, we still hold to as a place of existence in our mind's eye, navigating us to, again, a destination from A to B. We also like to think of it as scientific truths. If you put together chemical compounds, A and B and C, in a certain manner, in a certain scientific order, you will get an end result. These are what they often call empirical truths. These are things that we can touch, see, taste. Empirical truths, we also see, have a deeper truth, but it would also involve the idea that 1 + 1 is 2. We get frustrated, but when we try to get on Zoom, we know that there's an order. And we know that when something's not working, we missed a certain order to that truth. And if we don't go in the correct steps in that, well, we're not able to, maybe we're not able to connect to Zoom, or maybe we're not able to hear, or not able to be heard. However, the Bible in the ancient times speaks of deeper truths. So a perfect example of what a deeper truth is oftentimes confused when it comes to our Genesis creation story, Genesis chapters 1 and 2. Many people today like to look at Genesis as mythology, while others will make the argument that it's scientific truth. And I believe that if they look at it as scientific truth, as a scientific explanation of how the earth was created, they're missing an element of deeper truth that the authors intended. Now, that's not to say that I wish to have a debate on whether or not the Genesis story is a systematic order of truths, 6 days of creation, 7th day rest. I am not really that interested in arguing if that's true versus what I would going to now say holds deeper truths. For I will make the strong argument that what was intended by the writers and the readers of the Genesis account was to express a deeper truth that has more significance to the lives of the people as individuals and as a community of faith. I would also say that these deeper truths of individual and communal relevance do not have a hierarchy, meaning it's not more important that it speaks to the individual, nor is it more important for it to speak to the community. They are equally important and very, very important. Okay? So one may say, well, did the ancient person believe that things were created in this order? I would share with you perhaps, but that would not be their main concern. The main concern is, what deeper truths does this story have for our lives? I often share this explanation in the book of Genesis, although I don't plan on spending any more time in that example, but because that is one that is often debated in our context of today. Lamentations offers within it deeper truths. And when I say the word truth, I mean just that. I mean to them things that are extremely relevant and important. Oftentimes, when I share this thought or people learn about these deeper truths, they instantly become on guard because it brings us into the language of mythology. Okay? So I thought it'd be wise for us to look at what does the word myth mean. A myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people who explained something natural or social phenomenon, and typically involving supernatural beings or events. Mythology is simply a collection of myths, especially one belonging to a particular religious or cultural tradition. Whereas, by fundamental definition, the Bible is indeed a book distinguishing Jewish and Christian mythologies. It does not mean the writings are not true. Rather, it speaks towards deeper truths, or dare I say, mythological truths. If I said to anyone that's a Christian that Jesus spoke in parables, they would say, yes, that's right. I would ask them, are they truth? And they say they are true. And I would then follow up and say, did they really happen? And they would say, most likely, no, it's not necessarily that it happened verbatim, but rather it's speaking of greater truths, deeper truths, mythological truths. I want us to just understand that this language here, that mythology does not mean that there is not truth contained within them. As a matter of fact, oftentimes when we use a mythological truth, it helps us through this analogy of a parable, if you will, or a story, to help us understand the realities and that of our supernatural being, that of God, the Creator, in our lives. I like to think of it this way. If we are not to limit God, which is easy for us to do because of our limited understanding in minds, then it's important for us to see God in a greater expression than what we can understand. Parables, mythology, as if you will, allows us to do that. It is not a bedtime story. It is not something that is filled with just legend. But in itself, it talks about a truth of how people see God at work in their lives. So what is a mythological truth? It attempts to express ultimate reality. Notice the word ultimate reality. A mythological truth may use expressive analogies that may or may not happen exactly how it's written, but it's to help us understand a more profound truth. It uses symbolism. Myths points to a reality beyond itself and cannot be directly symbolized, as it transcends both the capacity of discursive reasoning and expression in ordinary language. So let us not be afraid of words like mythology and stuff, but rather let us understand what these words mean as we come to a deeper truth. When we look at Lamentations, we are going to have some tough images of God in the reality of their lives. So the last thing I want us to believe or think that the stories that are taking place in Lamentations are not real. Oh no, they are all too real. And they're trying to understand God's role in their suffering. I'd like us to pause for a moment I've said quite a bit, but I would like us to have a moment to share any questions or thoughts on what I just shared.
I think thinking of the deeper truths helps us to not be too superficial. So I'm glad you explained it in that way. It's easy to want to just take everything at face value. And yet, if there is a deeper truth, it's our work and our job to try to get to that. For the people of the day here in Lamentations, and also for us today, I think.
So to that point, let me go back to the creation analogy and the issue that I see with it. Some people are so quick to say Genesis chapter 1 and 2 is just talking mythologically, meaning not the mythology that we took the time to understand, but meaning it's just some stories talking about something else. No, it's not. It is a very detailed, elaborate, complicated, beautifully orchestrated, created poem describing very, very significant truths. Other people will say, you people just want to dismiss it away as myth, but it is actually what happened. God did this. And they take the sincerity of how serious this scripture is, but then they accidentally limit it by actually saying this is only the steps of creation.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, if we truly understand what a mythological truth is doing, man, I'll tell you, it is so profound in what it's trying to say. So a mythological truth is not meant to poo-poo what is being said or why it's being said. It's supposed to draw our attention and truly focus us in. We are talking about, now transcending to Lamentations, right? Well, the book of Genesis. We are talking about the creator of everything's relationship with humanity. Lamentations is talking about the creator of the cosmos' role in our suffering. These are not to be dismissed as myth and legend like Hollywood portrays it. This is speaking to such a profound truth that only through such literary tools can we even get a glimpse of a philosophical, theological, and sociological understanding that is relevant to our communal and individual lives, which are one.